So Nintendo had a very interesting announcement yesterday for Animal Crossing diehards because, well, they said that Animal Crossing wasn't getting any more updates for the Animal Crossing New Horizons on the Nintendo Switch. But I guess they lied because there is a large update coming to Animal Crossing New Horizons, including a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game. Now, I am going to talk a little bit about what's being included, even though I never picked up this game. My Animal Crossing days kind of ended with the DS version of the game because it does play a role in what my main topic is, and that is pricing. Because I think the pricing of this game is actually very interesting for the Nintendo Switch 2 edition and can potentially open up a larger conversation about how Nintendo has been handling pricing when it comes to both Switch 2 editions of games and just Switch 2 stuff in general. What? What are you looking at? What's the problem here? This is what I normally wear. I go out in town and wear this. Go to the grocer, get some fresh cut meats. Don't look at me like that. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on with Animal Crossing and then really the bigger picture of the situation. So Animal Crossing is getting a free update for Nintendo Switch 1 owners, known as Free Update Version 3.0. And there's actually a bunch of new stuff that's like being added in here. There's going to be a resort hotel that you can have your guests stay in, and you can decorate up the guest rooms and stuff like that. Rossetti is finally in the game. I did not realize that he was not in the game, but now he is in the game, and he could basically just reset like a layout that you have of something. There is Slumber Island, where you and other people can like design up to 3 different islands at once in like this dream world and stuff like that. Probably the most interesting thing are the collaborations, because they're finally adding in like specific Nintendo items into the game, and even some collaborations with like Legos and stuff like that. You can use different amiibos in order to unlock certain characters that will come to your village from Splatoon and The Legend of Zelda and get items from those. That was kind of one of the coolest things to me about Animal Crossing on the DS. Was I really liked like all of the Nintendo nostalgia stuff that they had in it. Like I had like a Metroid room in my house, and like there was just like Metroids in these little containers, and you would go up to it and it play the little beep 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 noise, and I always thought that was really cool. It really made the game kind of special, but it seems like as time has gone on, they've kind of moved on from stuff like that. There's new furniture, new clothing. If you have Nintendo Switch Online, you can play some NES games. I'm going to rant about that at the end of the video, but that's not what I'm really concerned with, because like I said, that is free for Nintendo Switch 1 owners, but there is a paid DLC for Nintendo Switch 2 owners. Now, we have seen Nintendo Switch 2 editions of games that get essentially free updates. There are some that get a paid update but are included in Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack for Nintendo Switch 2. And then, of course, there are the ones that have larger upgrades, $20 upgrades. Things like Kirby and Super Mario Party Country Bear Jamboree all were games that got $20 upgrades. Now, of course, it always kind of depended on what sort of upgrade it was. Like if it was visual upgrades, it was, usually a free thing sometimes, but if it had new content in it, then sometimes it would cost you more. It could be $10, could be $20. It was kind of all over the place. With Animal Crossing New Horizons on the Nintendo Switch 2, you get improved resolution in 4K in TV mode. However, the frame rate is still locked at 30 frames per second. You get mouse control with the right Joy-Con 2 in order to create custom designs, do handwritten bulletin board messages, decorate your stuff. I actually think that's a genius thing. That was another nice thing about the DS version. You had the touch screen so you can mess around with stuff. You can locate residents by calling their names using the in-game megaphone item and using the Nintendo Switch 2 built-in microphone. 12-player online sessions if everyone is playing the Nintendo Switch 2 version, and you can play with friends via camera play if you have the camera in there. Now, this comes out on January 15th, but here's my whole thing with this is the pricing. because this is not a $10 upgrade. It's not a $20 upgrade. It's a $5 upgrade. Now, usually, if it's $10, you're getting frame rates and better resolution and things like that. You know, potentially mouse control as well, like we saw with Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime 4 for the Switch 2 is $70. Switch 1 is $60. If they're adding in additional content into the game in terms of story content or elongating the game experience, then it goes up to $20. But this is $5. Like, where are we getting this $5 thing from? You know, you're getting improved resolution, you're getting a new control scheme, you're getting a new in-game item, you're getting larger online, you know, things that you can do. You can play with more people online, and you're getting the camera play. So I sit here and wonder, because the MSRP for the Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game is $65. So this isn't like a discount just for upgrading. If you go into a store and purchase this game for the Nintendo Switch 2, it is $65. I almost wonder, you know, it's really one of two things in my opinion. And I don't want to speculate too much, but I do feel like it's one of two things when it comes to this. Either it's just a coincidence, and this is what Nintendo feels that they should charge for this, because there are some people that say, well, this should be a free upgrade, you know, and I don't think that's necessarily wrong to think that, although there is, you know, added in incentive for the Switch 2 version. And, you know, some people are like, well, you know, okay, well, that's just what they're doing. Or has there been pushback to the point of where they're kind of like, well, people don't seem to like to pay premium pricing for some of these Switch 2 upgrades for their Switch 1, you know, because all of the sales data that we usually see is for specific Nintendo Switch 2 versions of the game. Like they went into a store and purchased Kirby, or they purchased Super Mario Country Bear Jamboree for the Nintendo Switch 2. We don't really have data on how many people are updating their Nintendo Switch 1 games to Nintendo Switch 2. So I think that is an interesting conversation to have about this, especially when you consider that they are also doing the free update the same day that this Switch 2 version also comes out. And the update is free. So it's like, you know, well, if it's a free update that's coming out on the same day, like that is kind of tied in with the Switch 2 edition of the game, at least in my opinion, because they're lining up the exact same day. If you would have done the Switch 2 edition and then like a couple of months later or a couple of weeks later done the update, the free update, then sure, you could say that they're separate things. But this kind of backtracks on their whole stance of, well, if we're adding in additional content, you know, then we have to charge more. Is it like because it's a specific Switch 2 thing? I don't know. It's a very strange thing. But now we have to look at the $5 price point of potential upgrades. And I think that starts a larger conversation of, you know, is this going to be potentially a new norm? Will some games get the $5 upgrade? Is it because of whatever decision that they made, or is it because maybe they're not seeing as many people upgrade their Switch 1 edition of the game to the Switch 2 edition of the game when there is something over $10 involved in the equation? I think these are both very logical things that you can deduce, and I guess time will just tell with this. You know, we have to see more Switch 1 upgrades on the Switch 2 to see how the pricing is done with some of these games. But I just found that very interesting. To me, that was way more interesting than Nintendo essentially lying and saying that they were done with Animal Crossing and then doing this massive update. Like, literally, this is probably the biggest update that they have done for this game. And it actually makes it a little bit more attractive to me. I'm still not going to buy it and check it out. I don't know if I could get a copy for like super cheap, like used or something, I might check it out. But like I said, I did save the NES games towards the end because I have seen a lot of people freaking out about this, but they're paywalled. You have to have a Nintendo Switch Online account in order to play the NES games inside of Animal Crossing. So what the hell is the point? Why is there excitement for this? You have Nintendo Switch Online. You can literally boot up the NSO app for NES games and then play whatever you want. Why does it, like, what's the appeal of playing it in Animal Crossing, unless just some rando who has come. But you have to have like friends on your islands. I don't think it's randoms. I don't know. I could be speaking out of turn there, but like if you wanted to play with people and play with someone, can you do 2-player stuff? I guess that would be, I don't know, kind of neat, but it's still serving the same purpose. Like I don't understand why like that's a big deal for some people. I get it's a nostalgic callback for sure, but it was special on the GameCube because Nintendo wasn't re-releasing these games. You were playing NES games on a GameCube, and that was cool. That gave you an incentive to go out there and try to find those buried games like they're treating it like ET. So I don't understand why there's a lot of grown men that are excited about that. But little rant aside, I'm curious what you guys have to think about the pricing stuff with this. Do you think that $5 is potentially a new norm? And if so, what do you think the reason is behind it? Is this just going to be a one-off thing? Are they just adding in another category of dollary due amounts that people will have to pay in order to upgrade their Switch 1 games to Switch 2 versions? And really, like, what else is there going to be? Like, bro, obviously you're not doing a new Animal Crossing for at least a little while because you are coming out hot and heavy with this update. So I wonder if that's kind of indicative of like what's going to happen with other games. I will say though, I do like the surprise announcement. You know, this wasn't in a direct or anything like that. It literally just crept up out of nowhere. I like those surprise announcements. Those are definitely cool. Whether or not I'm interested in the game or not, you know, that doesn't really matter. You know, it's a substantial update to a game that sold incredibly well. Thanks, pandemic. And, you know, there's going to be people hyped for it. So let me know what you think of this in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. And let me tell you something, brother. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.